Hello everyone and welcome to this creepypasta video. Now this is going to be a little bit different compared to my other creepypasta videos that I've done on this channel so far. So this one's going to be a longer one, but I am going to split it into different parts. I think that this is the best way of doing it, as there's only so much of my rambling that you guys can listen to, and it will also be better on my voice. But so I'm going to be covering the BEN Drowned Creepypasta. Now this is one that I've been wanting to cover since I started this channel, but with it being a longer one, I was just trying to figure out the best way of doing it, and also because even though I'll be doing it in parts, I will record them back to back. So I wanted to make sure I had enough time to run through it all properly. I also didn't want to rush as well, because I do really like this creepypasta. It's one of the first creepypastas I read personally, and it's a really good one. The only reason why I haven't covered it sooner is, like I say, the length, and I was just trying to figure out the best way of doing it, both for myself and you guys. And I think that this is the best way of doing it, and it does actually cut it down in parts as well, which is really helpful on the website. And as always, I will be posting the link to it down below in the comments as well, so you can read it yourself. But yeah, I believe the 4 or 5 parts. I think it's 5. I'm gonna go with 5, but you guys will see when I upload the videos. But yeah, so the plan of action is I record a part, upload it, do all that sort of stuff, take a little break, and then upload, and then record, upload, and like that. And I'll add it into my creepypasta playlist. I'll add them as I upload them. So that'll be updated. Link to that is also below. But yeah, so with the BEN Drowned Creepypasta, for those that don't know, it is an older one. It's what I'd probably say one of the classic ones when I first got into creepypasta. Kind of showing my age a bit there, but yeah, because I first got into creepypasta when I was in secondary school, or middle school, I believe it is for the Americans. But yeah, but it is one of the first ones. It is a longer one, like I said, but I just really enjoy it. Like, when I think creepypasta, I think of Benny Scared, Jeff the Killer, which I have covered in the previous video, especially the newer one. I do really like the newer one. But yeah, and because I love games, I am a gamer, and I do like Legend of Zelda. So it's quite a cool one. Some of it is like a bit cheesy looking back at it, but it's still a really fun one. So welcome to part 1. Let's get started. Okay, I need your help with this. This is not creepypasta. This is a long read, but I feel like my safety or well-being could very well depend on this. This is video game related, specifically Majora's Mask, and this is the creepiest shit that has ever happened to me in my entire life. Having said that, I recently moved into my dorm room, starting out as a sophomore in college, and a friend of mine gave me his old Nintendo 64 to play. I was stoked, to say the least. I could finally play all of those old games of my youth that I hadn't touched in at least a decade. His Nintendo 64 came with one yellow controller and a rather shoddy copy of Super Smash Bros. And while beggars can't be choosers, needless to say, it didn't take long until I became bored of beating up level 9 CPUs. That weekend, I decided to drive around a few neighbourhoods around 20 minutes or so off campus, hitting up the local garage sales, hoping to score on some good deals from ignorant parents. I ended up picking up a copy of Pokemon Stadium, GoldenEye, F-Zero, and 2 other controllers for $2. Satisfied, I began to drive out the neighbourhood when one last house caught my attention. I still have no idea what it did. There were no cars there, and only one table was set up, with random junk on it, but something that sort of drew me there. I usually trust my gut on these things, so I got out the car and I was greeted by an old man. His outward appearance was, for lack of a better wording, displeasing. It was odd. If you asked me to tell you why I thought he was displeasing, I couldn't really pinpoint anything. There was just something about him that put me on edge. I can't explain it. All I can tell you is that if it wasn't in the middle of the afternoon and there were other people within shouting distance, I would have not even thought of approaching this man. He flashed a crooked smile at me and asked what I was looking for, and immediately I noticed that he must be blind in one of his eyes. His right eye had that glazed over look about it. I forced myself to look at his left eye instead, trying not to offend, and asking him if he had any old video games. I was already wondering how I could politely excuse myself in the situation when he told me he had no idea what a video game was. But to my surprise, he said he had a few ones in an old box. He assured me he'd be back in a jiffy. Turned to head back into the garage. As I watched him hobble away, I couldn't help but notice that what he was selling on his table. Littered across his table were rather peculiar paintings, various artworks that looked like ink blots that a psychiatrist might show you. Curious, I looked through them. It was obvious why no one was visiting this guy's garage sale. These weren't exactly aesthetically pleasing. As I came to the last one, for some reason it looked almost like Majora's Mask, the same heart-shaped body with little spikes protruding outward. Initially, I just thought that since I was secretly hoping to find that game at these garage sales, some Freudian bullshit was projecting itself into the ink blots. But given the events that happened afterward, I'm not so sure now. I should have asked the man about it. I wish I would have asked the man about it. After staring at the Majora-shaped blot, I looked up and the old man was suddenly there again, arm's length in front of me, smiling at me. I'll admit I jumped out of reflex. I laughed nervously as he handed me a Nintendo 64 cartridge. It was the standard grey colour, except that someone had written Majora on it in black permanent marker. I got butterflies in my stomach as I realised what a coincidence this was and asked him how much he wanted for it. The old man smiled at me and told me that I could have it for free, that it used to belong to a kid who was about my age that didn't live here anymore. There was something weird about how the man phrased that, but I didn't really pay attention to them. I was too caught up in not only finding this game but getting it for free. I reminded myself to be a little bit sceptical, since this looked like a pretty shady cartridge and there's no guarantee it would work. But then the optimist inside me interjected that maybe it was some kind of beta version or pirated version of the game, and that was all I needed to be back on cloud 9. I thanked the man, and the man smiled at me and wished me well, saying goodbye then. At least that's what it sounded like to me. All the way in the car ride home, I had a nagging doubt that the man had said something else. My fears were confirmed when I booted up the game. To my surprise, it worked just fine. And there was one save file named simply Ben. Goodbye, Ben. He was saying, goodbye, Ben. I felt bad for the man. Obviously a grandparent and obviously going senile. And I, for some reason or another, reminded him of his grandson, Ben. Out of curiosity, I looked at the save file. Eyeballing it, I could tell that he was pretty far in the game. He had almost all of the masks and 3/4 remains of the bosses. I noticed that he had used a nail statue to save his game. He was on day 3 and by the Stone Terror Temple with hardly an hour left before the moon would crash. I remember thinking that they was ashamed that he had come so close to beating the game, but he never finished it. I made a new file named Link, out of tradition, and started the game, ready to relive my childhood. For such a shady looking game cartridge, I was impressed at how smoothly it ran. Literally just like a retail copy of the game, save for a few minor hiccups here and there, like textures being where they shouldn't, random flashes of cutscenes at odd intervals, but nothing too bad. However, the only thing that was a little unnerving was that at times the NPCs would call me Link, and at other times they would call me Ben. I figured it was just a bug, a fluke in programming, caused our files to get mixed up or something. It did kind of creep me out after a while, and it was around after I had beaten the Woodfall Temple that I regrettably went into the save files and deleted them. I had intended to preserve the file just out of respect for the game's original owner. It's not like I needed 2 files anyway, hoping that would solve the problem. It did and it didn't. Now NPCs wouldn't call me anything. Where my name should be in the dialogue, there's just a blank space. My save file name should still be called Link though. Frustrated and with homework to do, I put the game down for a day. I started playing the game again last night, getting the lens of truth and working my way towards completing the Snowhead Temple. Now, some of you more hardcore Majora Mass fans know about the fourth day glitch. For those who don't, you can Google it, but the gist of it is that right as the clock is about to hit naught on the final day, you talk to the astronomer and look through the telescope. If you time it right, the countdown disappears and you essentially have another day to finish whatever you were doing. Deciding to do the glitch to try and finish the Snowhead Temple, I happened to get it right on the first try, and the time counter at the bottom disappeared. However, when I pressed B to exit the telescope, instead of being greeted by the astronomer, I found myself in the Majora boss fight room at the end of the game, the trippy box in the arena. Staring at a Skull Kid hovering above me, there was no sound, just him floating in the air above me, and the background music, which was regular for the area but still pretty creepy. Immediately my palms began to sweat. This was definitely not normal. Skull Kid never appeared here. I tried moving around the area, and no matter where I went, Skull Kid would always be facing me, looking at me, not saying anything. Nothing would happen though, and this kept up for around 60 seconds. I thought the game had bugged or something, but I was beginning to doubt that very much. I was about to reach for the reset button when text appeared on my screen. You're not sure why, but you apparently had a reservation. I instantly recognised that text. You get that text when you get the room key from Andrew at the Stop Pot Inn. But why was it playing here? I refused to entertain the notion that it was almost as if the game was trying to communicate with me. I started to navigate the room again, testing to see if that was some sort of trigger that enabled me to interact with something here. Then I realised how stupid I was. To even think that someone could reprogram the game like this, that was just absurd. Sure enough, 15 seconds later, another message appeared on the screen, and again, like the first one, it was already a pre-existing phrase. Go to the layout of the temple's boss. Yes/no. I paused for a second, contemplating what I should press and how the game would react. When I realised that I couldn't select no, taking a deep breath, I pressed yes, and the screen faded to white, with the words "Dawn of a New Day," with the subtext, and it's just loads of voids beneath it. Where I was ported to filled me with the most intense sense of dread and impending fear I had ever experienced. The only way I can describe the way I felt here is having this feeling of inexplicable sorry about that guys, depression on a profound scale. I am normally not a depressed person, but the way I felt here was a feeling that I didn't even know existed. It was just a twisted, powerful presence that seemed to wash over me. I appeared in some kind of weird Twilight Zone version of Clocktown. I walked out of the clock tower as you normally do when you start from day one, only to find that all the inhabitants were gone. Usually with the fourth day glitch, you can still find the guards and the dog that runs around outside the tower. This time they were all gone. What replaced them was the ominous feeling that there was something out there in the same area as me, and that it was watching me. I had 4 hearts to my name and the hero's bow, but at this point I wasn't even considered for my avatar. I felt that I personally was in some kind of danger. Perhaps the most chilling thing was the music. It was a song of healing, ripped straight from the game itself, but played in reverse. The music would get louder, building up, and if you should expect something to pop out at you, but nothing ever did, and a constant loop began to wear on my mental state. Every now and then I would hear the faint laugh of the happy mask salesman in the background, just quiet enough so that I wasn't sure if I was just hearing things, but just loud enough to keep me determined to find him. I looked in all 4 zones of Clocktown, only to find nothing. No one. Textures were missing. West Clocktown had me walking on air. The entire area felt broken, hopelessly broken, as the reverse song of healing repeated for what must have been for the 50th time. I just remember standing in the middle of the in the middle of the South Clock Town, realising that I had never felt so alone in a video game before. As I walked through the ghost town, I didn't know whether it was a combination of the out-of-place textures and atmosphere and the haunting melody of the once peaceful and soothing song being butchered and distorted, but I was literally on the verge of tears and I had no idea why. I hardly ever cry. Something had gripped me here, and this was a powerful sense of depression that was both foreign and crippling. I tried leaving Clocktown, but every time I attempted to zone out, the screen would fade to black and I would just zone into another part of Clocktown. I tried playing my ocarina. I wanted to escape and I did not want to be here. But every time I played the Song of Time or Song of Soaring, it would only say, your notes echo far, but nothing happens. By this point, it was obvious the game didn't want me to leave, but I had no idea why it was keeping me here. I didn't want to go inside the buildings. I thought that I would be too vulnerable there to whatever I was terrified of. I don't know why, but I came up with the idea that maybe if I drowned myself at the laundry pool, I could spawn somewhere else and leave this place. As I zoned in and ran towards the pool, that's where it happened. Link grabbed his head and the screen flashed for a brief moment of the happy mask salesman smiling at me. Not Link, me with school kids scream playing in the background, and when the screen returned I was staring at the Link statue. From playing the song Elegy of Emptiness, I screamed as the thing just stared back at me with that haunting facial expression. I turned around and ran out and back into South Clock Town, and to my horror the fucking statue followed me in the only way I could pair this. It's like the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who. I used to love the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who. Every so often, at random intervals, the animation would play of the statue appearing behind me. It was like the thing was chasing me, or I don't even want to fucking say it, haunting me. By this point, I was on the verge of hysterics, but not even once did the thought of turning off the console occur to me. I don't know why. I was so wrapped up in it, the terror felt all so real. I tried to shake the statue, but it would literally appear right behind me every single time. Link started to begin to make weird animations I had never even seen him do before. He would flail his arms around or spasm randomly, and the screen would cut to the happy mask salesman smiling again for a brief moment before I was face to face with that fucking statue again. I ended up running to the Swordmaster's dojo and ran to the back. I don't know why, but in my panic I just wanted some kind of assurance that I'm not alone here. To my dismay, I found no one. But as I turned to leave, the statue cornered me in the cubby in the back. I tried attacking the statue with my sword, but to no avail. Confused and backed into a corner, I just stared at the statue, waiting for it to kill me. Suddenly, the screen flashed again, and the happy masked salesman and Link turned to face my screen. Standing upright, mirroring the statue, looking at me along with his copy, literally staring at me. Whatever was left of the fourth wall was completely shattered while I ran out the dojo terrified. Suddenly, the game walked me to an underground tunnel, and the reverse Song of Healing queued up again as I was given a brief moment of rest before the statue started appearing behind me again, this time aggressively. I could only take a few steps before it would summon me. It would summon behind me again. I hurriedly made my way out of the tunnel and appeared in southern Clocktown. As I ran aimlessly in a sheer panic, suddenly a redead screamed, and the screen faded to black as dawn of a new day and Lars' voice appeared again. The screen faded in, and I was standing on top of the clock tower with School Kid hovering over me again. Silent, I looked up and the moon was back, looming just meters above my head. But the School Kid just stared at me hauntingly with that fucking mask. A new song was playing, the Stone Temple theme, played in reverse. In some sort of desperate attempt, I gripped my bow and fired off a shot at the School Kid, and it actually hit him, and he played an animation of him reeling back. I fired again, and on the third arrow, a text box appeared saying, "That won't do you any good, hee hee." Hee hee. Sorry about that, guys, I just had to. And as And as I was picked up off the ground, levitated upwards on my back, and then Link screamed as he burst into flames. Instantly killing him. I jumped when this happened. I had never seen this move used by anyone in the game, and Skull Kid himself didn't have any moves. As a death scream played, my lifeless body still burning, the Skull Kid laughed and the screen faded to black, only to have me reappear in the same place. I decided to charge him, but the same thing happened. Link's body was lifted off the ground by some unknown force, and he immediately burst into flames, again killing him. This time, during the death screen, the faint sounds of the reverse song of healing could be heard. On my third and final try, I noticed that there was no music playing this time, that all there was eerie silence. I remembered that in the original encounter with the Skull Kid, you were supposed to use the ocarina to either travel back in time or summon the giants. I attempted to play the Song of Time, but before I could hit the last notes, Link's body once again horrifically exploded into flames, and he died. As the death screen neared its end, it began to chug, as if the cartridge was trying to process a lot of something. When the screen came to, it was the same scene as the first 3 times, except this time Link was lying on the ground, dead in a position I had never seen in the game before, his head tilted towards the camera, with the Skull Kid floating above him. I couldn't move, I couldn't press any buttons, all I could do was just stare at Link's dead body. After around 30 seconds of this, the game simply fades out with the message, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" before kicking you out to the title screen. Upon getting back to the title screen and staring again, I noticed my save file was no longer there. Instead of Link, it had been replaced with "Your turn." Your turn had 3 hearts, no masks and no items. I selected Your Turn, and immediately when I did, I was returned to the Clock Tower rooftop scene of my Link dead and the Skull Kid hovering over, with the Skull Kids laughing, looping again and again. I quickly hit the reset button, and when the game booted up again, there was one more save added below, Your Turn, entitled Ben. Ben's save file is right back where it was before I deleted it at the Stone Tower Temple with the moon almost crashing. I turned the game off at this point. I'm not superstitious, but this is way too fucked up, even for me. I haven't played it all day today. Hell, I didn't even get any sleep last night. I kept hearing the reverse song of healing in my head, and just remembering the sense of dread I felt exploring Clocktown. I drove back to the old man's house today to ask him some questions with a buddy of mine. No way I was going there alone, only to find that there's a for sale sign in the front yard, and when I rang the door, no one was home. So now I'm back here writing down the rest of my thoughts and recording what happened. Sorry if some of this has grammar errors and whatnot. I'm running on no sleep here. I'm terrified of this game, even more so now that I relived it a second time writing all this down. But I feel like there's still more to it than meets the eye. And then there's something calling to me to investigate this further. I think Ben is something in this equation, but I don't know what. And if I could get a hold of the old man, then I will be able to find some answers. I need another day or so to recuperate before tackling this game again. It's already taken a toll on my sanity, I feel like, but next time I do this, I'm going to be recording my footage all the way through. The idea to record only came to me towards the end, so you see the last few minutes of what I saw, including Skull Kid and the allergy statue, but it's on YouTube here. I'm going to stay in this thread for a little longer before I fall asleep to answer any questions you guys might have, or hopefully listen to your ideas or theories to help me shed some light into this, or maybe things I should try to do. I think I'm going to play Ben's file tomorrow to see what happens. Maybe I was supposed to do that all along. I don't believe in paranormal shit, but this is a little fucked up. But maybe this Ben guy is just a really good hacker / programmer. I don't want to think about the alternatives if he isn't. That's the end of the copy / paste. I'm hoping that maybe this is some kind of running gag that the developers had, and that other people have gotten gag or hacked copies of the game like this. This just really scares me. And that is the end of part 1. So there is a video at the end of part 1 as well. So like I say, I will post the link to Original Creepypasta if you wanted to check that out. But yeah, so that was part 1. So it's a good start. So it was pretty cool, you know, seeing how he got this game, and how it's set up really, that, you know, weird shit that should not be happening in the game is happening in the game, and especially with the old man as well, who claimed to not know what a video game was and then gave this really weird copy of Majora's Mask to the kid. But anyway, oh, and Reaping Angels, I want to talk about Reaping Angels. So for those of you that don't know, I mean, Doctor Who is a sci-fi program that's from the UK. I'm not sure if it's shown in other countries. I know it's quite a big franchise, but yeah, I used to watch Doctor Who all the time. I don't watch it as much now. I don't feel it's as good, but I used to love it. And the Reaping Angels were these statues that when you wasn't looking at them, they'd just follow you around. And if they touched you, you'd be dead, basically. It's the long and short of it. But they used to, when you did look at them, they used to be in different poses. And I know that me and my friends at school, we used to chase each other pretending to be Reaping Angels on the playground. And I used to do it to annoy my parents. Me and I've got a brother and sister at the time, before my youngest brother was born. But we used to constantly annoy my parents by pretending to be Reaping Angels. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you guys think of the first part, and I'll see you in the next parts. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe. And like I say, I'll put a link to my playlist of creepypastas down below as well. See you in the next one.